So in the last video, I gave you 2 points and I said, given these 2 points, give me the equation of the line. In this video, I'm going to show you how to go a little bit beyond that because I kind of cheated and I gave you a point like this point P1 where one of the points landed right on that B. So in other words, so this point P1 is 0, 3. So if you go 0 on the x-axis, which is right here where they intersect, and 3 up. So the point was right here, and that's your P1. And your P2 is 3, 2. So go over 3, 1, 2, 3 units and up 2, so right about here. And then you can make a line, but what's the actual equation of that line? Approximately here, we'll just draw that. We figured out using this y equals mx plus b. Again, always write down y equals mx plus b. So with this equation, to solve it, or to find the equation of this particular line, let's go ahead and plug in some values. Remember, your m is equal to rise over run. So we can easily figure that out. So your rise over run, if you look at this, you start at this point here, which was 3, 2. You'd go up 2 units, right? Or 1 unit, I'm sorry. So right to here, and then you'd go over 3 units. So you rise 1. I'll pick a different color here. And your run was negative, because you're going left, don't forget, or that way, 3. So your m is equal to negative 1/3. And so you have your b already. So this is the case where we already have the b, which happens to be where it crosses the vertical line, which is at that 3 right here. So we already have those. So we already have y equals, we have our m, we just figured that out, negative 1/3 times your x and plus your b value, which you have because it's sitting right on the vertical axis at 3. But what if your b value didn't happen to be known and you didn't have a value there? Let's try to figure out what we do then. So let's start a new page, and we're going to do a whole new one. Remember, always start off with y equals mx plus b. Let's get 2 points. Oops, excuse me. Point 1, point 2. And we're just going to make these up, but they're going to not be on the actual vertical axis. So let's draw a quick coordinate system here. There we go. So we have 2 points. Let's go ahead and make them up. Let's go with 2, 2, and let's go with 3, negative 1. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is kind of get a visual, right? So 2, 2, and we're just making these units up here, 2, 2, approximate with my electronic pen. There's a point there, and 3, negative 1, so you go over 3, and then you go down 1 unit. So your other point is somewhere right about here, right? So eventually, like I said, you're not going to want to rely on, counting and physically looking at these lines. You want to actually do it all mathematically and using arithmetic. But you can see it crosses somewhere up here if you drew the line across those 2 points, right? So we don't really know. We can guess, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6.5, 7. We don't know. So we don't have that b part. We don't have anything right now. So let's go ahead and get some of those values. So knowing this, and what else do we know? And you can always write this down too. Your m is equal to rise over run. And remember from one of the previous videos that rise over run is also it's an equation that has arithmetic to it. So we can do it here visually still. We can say we can go up 1, 2, 3 points and then left 1. But that's not very efficient when you have, maybe you have decimals, maybe you have something that's not quite as precise as that. So instead of rise over run, remember we had our y value, first y value minus our second y value, all divided by our x value minus our second x value. Make that a 1 here. And we labeled these as, say this is x1, y1, and this would be x2, y2. right? Just for convenience. So let's do that out. Let's actually do that out. So we have our slope, and that's the formula here. And we can do the slope out like this, and that's going to be, I got to pick a different color here. So our y1 is 2 minus, and our y2 is -1. So minus a -1. -1. These electronic pens are very difficult to use so far, by the way. And then our x1 minus x2, which was 2 minus 3. 2 minus 3. And what does that equal to? 2 minus -1 is going to be the same thing as 2 plus 1, which is 3. And then 2 minus 3 is -1, which, as we know, is the same thing as -1/3. Turns out our slope is the same as the previous problem. So we have our slope, but we don't have our b this time. Remember last time we can just say, hey, there's where it crosses. We don't have that. But we have y equals -1/3 some x value plus b. We don't know our b, so how do we figure that out? Well, we're going to use some basic algebra for that. We have 2 points that are on this line. So we're telling you, so let's look at point 1 here. We're telling you that when x is equal to 2, our y value is equal to 2 as well. Well, that's given because our point is over 2 up 2. That's our point. It is on this line. It is a answer. It is a solution to this equation. So let's go ahead and write that solution in. So instead of y and x, we're going to plug in our x and y, and we're going to solve for b. Okay, so let's do that in another color here. So we know our y is going to be 2 right here. This y1 is equal to 2. And I arbitrarily picked one point to do this. You can pick either point and you're going to get the same answer. So we'd have 2 is equal to, now the m is -1/3. And what is our x in this case? It's going to be this x here, x1. So it's going to be 2 plus b. Now we can solve for b and find out what that value is. So it looks like 2 is equal to -2/3 plus b, right? So 2 is equal to -2/3 plus b. And to get rid of the fraction, I'm going to multiply everything by 3. So that's going to give us 6 on this side. I'll do it right here. So we have 6 is equal to -2 plus, don't forget, if you multiply both sides by 3, that b has to be multiplied by 3 as well. Subtract, well, add 2 to both sides. So you'd end up with 8 on one side. I'm going to do it over here. Is equal to 3b. And then solve for b. You have b is equal to 8/3. Do you see how I did that? Just divide both sides by 3. So b is equal to 8/3. Now we can take that 8/3 and plug it in right there, and that's our answer. So our final solution, sorry if I don't have enough room for everything here, is y is equal to -1/3 x plus 8/3. And that's it. Now it seems complicated. You could have picked either point. You might need some practice with this one because you're not used to actually putting in values for the x and the y. But now you do have an x that corresponds to a y. That's what these points are. They do lie on this line, so you can do that. And that's how you find the b. Hope you enjoyed this episode.